When I was 17, I didn't know what credit was. I thought it was some adult magic, like taxes or mortgages, or why my dad could yell at the TV during football, and somehow that was normal. My name is Tyler, and I'm 25 now. I've learned a lot since then. I've learned how to fix a busted radiator with a $9 socket set in a YouTube video at midnight. I've learned how to juggle 3 jobs without falling asleep standing up. And I've learned, painfully, piece by piece, that family doesn't always mean loyalty. Sometimes, it means debt collectors and betrayal wrapped in Sunday dinner smiles. Back then, we lived in a weather-beaten house just outside Fort Wayne. Indiana winters are cruel, and that house held the cold like a grudge. My room was in the attic. No insulation, one tiny window, and a floor that groaned like it was tired of holding me up. But I didn't complain. That was the unspoken rule in our house. Don't complain. Ever. My parents, Scott and Denise, were the kind of people who believed struggle built character, as long as it wasn't theirs. They saved their sympathy for outsiders and their expectations for me. I was the oldest of 3. My brother Kyle, 2 years younger, had a natural charm that got him out of almost everything. Teachers adored him even when he turned in assignments late. My sister Haley, the youngest, was the princess from birth. Blonde curls, blue eyes, a voice that could switch from sweet to shrill in a heartbeat. She got what she wanted by sheer force of will. I was the quiet one, the one who fixed the Wi-Fi, mowed the lawn, and helped with groceries without being asked. The reliable one. I used to take pride in that. Until it broke me. The first sign that something was off came just after my 19th birthday. I was working part-time at a mechanic shop, saving money for community college. Every paycheck, I'd squirrel away a few $100s, hoping to cover tuition without loans. I didn't want to start adulthood in debt. Irony has a twisted sense of humor. One afternoon, I got a letter in the mail, thick envelope, official-looking. I opened it at the kitchen table while Mom stirred spaghetti sauce and Kyle shouted at the Xbox upstairs. It was from a bank I didn't recognize. I skimmed it, confused, then read it again slower. My name, my social security number, a loan for $22,000. Approved and disbursed. I thought it was a mistake. A scam, maybe. I stood there, stunned, letter in hand. Mom, I said, did you sign me up for a loan? She didn't turn around, just kept stirring. Don't make a scene, Tyler. What? My voice cracked. This says I took out a loan. 22 grand. I didn't. What is this? She sighed, like I was being difficult on purpose. Finally, she turned to face me, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Your father and I had to use your name. We needed help, and the bank wouldn't approve us anymore. I just stared. I felt like the floor had shifted under me. You used my name? It's not a big deal, she said quickly, eyes narrowing. You're part of this family, and we needed a loan to consolidate some things. Kyle needed braces. Haley's school trip. Some house repairs. But it's in my name. You're 19, Tyler. You'll have plenty of time to build credit again. My mouth opened and closed. I didn't even know what to say. I felt violated, betrayed, confused. I'd always trusted my parents. Always believed they were doing their best. But this was something else. This was stealing. When Dad came home that night, I tried to bring it up again. He didn't let me finish a sentence. You live under our roof, he said. You think that's free? You think feeding you all these years didn't cost money? I'm not saying that, I whispered. But this ruins my credit. I was going to apply for financial aid. For college. We'll figure it out, he said, already brushing past me. Don't make a scene. It's for the family. That became the mantra, the shield they used whenever I protested. It's for the family. Like I wasn't part of it. Like I was just the body they used to get ahead. I didn't tell anyone. Not my friends, not my boss, not even my girlfriend at the time. I swallowed it, because what else could I do? I thought maybe they'd pay it off fast. Maybe they'd fix it. Maybe I could still save for school. A year later, they took out another one. I found out when I applied for a student credit card and got denied. Another letter came in the mail. This one for a $15,000 personal loan. Same bank. Same story. My name, my number, their hands. That night, I confronted them. I was shaking, not with fear, but rage I didn't know how to process. I laid the letter on the table, waited. Dad barely glanced at it. We needed it. For what? I asked. Kyle's car. His broke down. He needs to get to work. What about Haley's wedding fund? Mom added. We've been saving, but it's not enough. You know how expensive venues are now. My vision went blurry. So my future just doesn't matter? You're young, Mom said again, as if that was some kind of shield. You'll bounce back. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. But instead, I just stood there while they moved on like nothing had happened. Dad turned on the TV. Mom started folding laundry. And I felt myself crack a little. That was the night I decided something. I didn't say it out loud, but it settled in my bones like concrete. I was done waiting for them to do right by me. I was going to fix this, but not for them. For me. What I didn't know then was how deep the hole really went. Because the loans were just the start. And my parents weren't nearly done using me. The summer I turned 21, I learned the sound of my breaking point. It didn't come with shouting or some big dramatic outburst like in the movies. No, it was quiet, almost polite. Just the soft click of my car being towed from the front of the mechanic shop where I worked, right after my shift ended. I stood there, greasy and sunburned, holding a bottle of orange Gatorade and a bag of gas station chips. I thought maybe I parked in the wrong spot. Maybe there was a mistake. But when I called the number on the flyer the driver had slapped onto the shop door, the woman on the other end asked for my name, put me on hold, then came back with a bored voice and said, "Yeah, looks like it was repossessed. Missed payments. Loan defaulted." I just stood there for a full minute, silent. I didn't take out a loan for that car. I finally said, heart thudding, "I bought it used cash." Another pause. Then, "Well, sir, according to our records, the vehicle was used as collateral in a personal loan 2 years ago. It defaulted. That's why it was taken." I don't remember the rest of that call. I remember the ground feeling soft, unsteady. I remember walking home, 5 miles, in steel-toed boots. My boss texted me asking what happened. I didn't answer. I didn't have words for what I was feeling. When I got home, Kyle's new silver Civic was parked in the driveway. Shiny, spotless, not a scratch. It hadn't been there that morning. I stared at it for a long time before I walked inside. The air was thick with the smell of garlic bread and lasagna. Haley was laughing in the kitchen, probably on the phone with her fiancé, and my mom was humming as she pulled dinner from the oven. Dad sat on the couch with a beer in hand, eyes glued to the news. I didn't even ask. I just held up the flyer and dropped it onto the table. Mom looked over, smile fading. "What's that?" "My car got taken," I said flatly. "Repossession. Apparently, it was used as collateral for a loan." She winced. "Tyler." "No," I said. "No more Tyler. No more brushing it off. Did you take out a loan in my name again?" Silence. Then Dad set his beer down with a loud thud. "Don't come in here accusing us like we're criminals." "You are," I snapped. "You used my name. Again. You didn't even ask." "We needed a loan to help Kyle get a reliable car," Mom said, folding her arms like that justified it. "His old one kept breaking down, and he's got a real chance at that sales job." "What about me?" I asked, voice rising. "What about my job? I was using that car to get to work, to earn money, to survive, and now it's gone." Dad stood up. "Don't raise your voice. We're still your parents." "Parents?" I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Parents don't steal their kid's identity 3 times and ruin their credit before he can legally drink." Haley poked her head in from the kitchen. "You're being dramatic." That was it. That was the moment. Not the loans. Not the repossession. Not even the smug way Kyle acted like he earned that Civic. It was Haley, looking at me like I was the problem. "You know what?" I said. "Fine. I'll find a way to fix it. But don't expect me to play along anymore." "Don't be selfish," Mom snapped. "We're a family. We help each other." "Funny how that only goes one way," I muttered. I walked out that night and didn't come back for 3 days. I slept on a friend's couch and borrowed his bike to get to work. I didn't return until I was sure I wouldn't scream just walking through the front door. When I did get home, nobody greeted me. My parents acted like I was being petty. Kyle had the nerve to say, "You're still mad about the car? Dude, chill. I'll drive you if you need a ride." I declined. That month, I opened a separate bank account under a different name, my middle name, and an old address from college applications. I started saving in secret. Every paycheck, I put away half. I picked up night shifts and weekend jobs, skipped sleep, skipped meals, and slowly began building a financial wall between me and my family. I stopped leaving documents around the house. Started locking my bedroom door. Haley got married the next spring. It was a huge affair. White roses, crystal chandeliers, custom invitations with gold foil lettering. The whole thing screamed money. I assumed her fiancé's family was rich. Then I overheard my mom talking on the phone late one night while I passed by the kitchen. Yes, it was all from that third loan, she whispered. Well, Tyler doesn't really need a wedding. He's not even dating anyone. I stood there in the dark, fists clenched so hard my nails left crescent moons in my palms. I didn't confront her. I couldn't. Not then. If I said something, I might actually lose it. So I swallowed it again. Quietly. For now. At Haley's wedding, I played my part. I smiled for photos, gave a polite toast, and watched my parents beam with pride. I listened to guests compliment the family. I watched my dad cry during the father-daughter dance. And I wondered if they even saw me anymore, or if I was just a walking social security number to them. After the wedding, things got colder. I spent less time at home, more at work. I applied for a second apartment using a roommate's name, paid cash, and moved out without telling anyone. When my mom called the next morning and found my room empty, she left 6 voicemails in a row. Tyler, where are you? Tyler, this isn't funny. Tyler, come home now. We're your family. I never returned the calls. I texted Kyle once. Tell mom and dad I'm fine. Just needed space. I didn't block them. I wanted them to see. Every time I got a promotion, every time I paid off a credit card someone else had opened, I posted it. Quietly. Not bragging. Just leaving breadcrumbs. Letting them know I wasn't gone. I was just done. But they weren't done with me. A year later, I checked my credit report again. A new credit card had been opened under my name. For $1,800 charged to it in less than 3 months. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. This time, I didn't ask. I went straight to the bank, flagged the fraud, closed the account, and filed a police report. And for the first time, I included names. Scott and Denise Harper. Relationship, parents. I didn't tell them. Not yet. I waited. I wanted them to hear from someone else first. And they did. I came home from work a few days later to find Dad waiting outside my apartment building. He looked older than I remembered. Gray in his beard. Wrinkles in his forehead. He stood when he saw me and started talking before I even reached him. You called the cops on your own family? I shrugged. Wasn't personal. Just protecting my identity. That's your mother you're accusing. No, I said calmly. It's not an accusation. It's a fact. The account was opened from your IP address. Her voice is on the verification call. I heard the audio. His mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. We needed help, Tyler. You always need help, I said. And I'm always the one paying for it. We raised you, he snapped. No, I said. You used me. Big difference. He left after that. Furious. Said I was being cold. Said I was abandoning the people who loved me. And maybe, in some twisted way, they did love me. But they loved me like an ATM. Like a tool. Like a safety net. Not like a son. It's been almost 2 years since that day. I've moved twice, changed numbers, even legally altered parts of my name. My credit is almost clean now. I own my car outright. I work in logistics for a major trucking company and do freelance auto repair on the side. I don't owe anyone anything. Not a cent. But then last month, the doorbell rang. And when I opened it, I saw them. Mom. Dad. Both thinner, older. Tired. They looked like the wind could blow them over. Tyler, Mom whispered. Her eyes were red. We didn't know where else to go. Dad cleared his throat. The house is in foreclosure. We've got 60 days. We need help. I let them talk. Let them explain the medical bills, the late payments, the desperate borrowing. I nodded, patient, while they laid out the sob story. And when they were done, I just smiled. Funny, I said. I could help. But you taught me not to. Then I closed the door. And that's not even the end. Because what they did after that, that's when things really got crazy. I wish I could say slamming that door was the end of it. That everything after was peaceful. That they took the hint and left me to my life. But if there's one thing I've learned about people like my parents, it's that they don't understand boundaries. Not when it comes to what they believe they're entitled to. Especially not when it comes to me. For about a week after I turned them away, it was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that doesn't settle, just hovers. I tried to convince myself it was over. That maybe they were finally realizing I wasn't the same kid who used to apologize for things I didn't do. I went to work, hit the gym, stayed busy. But in the back of my mind, I could feel it brewing. Then came the letter. It wasn't handwritten. It wasn't even sent through the mail. It was hand-delivered, wedged into my apartment mailbox without a stamp. Folded neatly, typed, and unsigned. You owe us everything. We gave you life, food, shelter. This attitude of superiority, it's disgusting. You're not better than us, Tyler. And when we lose the house, Just know it'll be your fault. Not ours. Yours. I read it twice. Then again. It wasn't even angry. It was cold. Calculated. Like someone had written it while sipping coffee and feeling nothing at all. That scared me more than if it had been some rant in red ink. Because it meant they believed it. Every word. They truly thought I owed them my life. That night, I sat on my bed for hours, staring at the ceiling fan as it spun in slow circles. I thought about how far I'd come. About how hard it had been to claw my way back from the hole they threw me into. About the nights I'd come home with $4 in my bank account and a fridge full of nothing. About the relationships I'd ruined by constantly working, by not having the energy to be present. About the birthday I spent alone eating instant noodles while Mom posted photos of Haley's baby shower online with a cake that probably cost more than my monthly rent. I hadn't hit rock bottom when they stole my credit. I hadn't even hit it when they took my car. The truth is, I didn't have a rock bottom. I had a slow, quiet collapse. 1,000 small humiliations. A constant, gnawing sense that I didn't matter. Not to them. Not to anyone. But somewhere in the middle of that collapse, I started building something. The first brick was honesty. I stopped lying to myself about who they were. I stopped excusing it, justifying it, pretending it would get better if I just worked harder or stayed quiet long enough. The second brick was distance. Real distance. Not just moving out, but cutting emotional ties. No more looking for their approval. No more hoping for an apology that would never come. And the third brick? That was mine. I stopped doing things because I had to. I started doing them because I wanted to. I signed up for night classes in logistics management. Slept 4 hours a night. Lived off caffeine and willpower. Took a promotion at work that paid less per hour but came with a path. One that didn't end with me under someone's thumb forever. It was hard. I won't lie. There were weeks I didn't think I'd make it. Weeks where I'd sit in the dark with my phone off, just tired in my bones. But slowly, something shifted. I paid off another card. Got approved for a lease in my own name. My boss pulled me into his office one morning and said, "You've got a mind for this. Ever think about running your own team?" That night, I cried for the first time in years. Not because I was sad. Because someone finally saw me for what I could be, not just what I'd survived. Around that same time, I stopped checking my parents' Facebook profiles. I didn't need to see the pity posts or the vague updates about someone in the family who turned their back on us. I was done playing the villain in their story. And just when I thought they'd finally let go, I got a call from Haley. I almost didn't answer. But some part of me, the part that still remembered teaching her how to ride a bike in our cracked driveway, picked up. "Tyler." Her voice was tight, like she was holding something back. "Can we talk?" I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. "I don't know. Can we?" There was a pause. "I'm not here to argue. I wanted to say I'm sorry." I didn't respond. I didn't know how bad it got. I don't know what I thought. That you'd be fine, I guess. That you always land on your feet. Because I had to. I said, quieter than I meant to. Because no one else would catch me. "I know," she whispered. "I know that now. Mom and Dad, they're losing everything. And part of me, God, I feel awful even saying this, but part of me thinks they deserve it." "They do," I said. She sighed. "I just didn't want you to think I was like them." I let that hang in the air. I didn't know if I believed her. But I could hear something in her voice, something raw, something I recognized. The sound of someone waking up. "I need time," I said finally. "Okay." We hung up. I didn't feel better. I didn't feel worse. Just still. But that call was the beginning of something. A few days later, I got a LinkedIn message from a recruiter. Logistics coordinator position. Full benefits. Remote flexibility. Salary double what I was making. I thought it was a scam. Almost ignored it. But I checked the company. It was real. I sent in my resume that night. Got an interview 3 days later. And when they offered me the job, I stared at the email for a long, long time. Because in that moment, I realized something. I'd made it. Not just financially. Not just professionally. I'd made it out. Out of the guilt. Out of the cycles. Out of the belief that my worth was tied to how much I could endure. I accepted the job. Signed the papers. Sent in my resignation at work, and my boss actually hugged me. "You were one of the best I've had," he said. "Go do something amazing." I did. I moved to a better apartment. One with a balcony and a washer/dryer that didn't sound like a rocket launch. I bought a couch that wasn't secondhand. I went on a real vacation, just 3 days in a cabin up north. No cell service, just trees and silence. And for the first time in my adult life, I breathed without a weight on my chest. But just when I thought the past had finally let go of me, it grabbed back. A letter arrived. This one was official. Cream envelope, courthouse seal. A civil suit, filed by Scott and Denise Harper, claiming I owed them financial support, that I had benefited from living under their roof for years and now had an adult obligation to contribute to their well-being, citing some obscure state code about filial responsibility. I sat on my new couch, hands trembling, and read the letter 3 times. And then I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was insane. They were suing me. Suing me. After everything they'd taken. After everything they'd done. They were still trying to take more. That was the real turning point. Not the loans. Not the car. Not even the letter shoved in my mailbox. This was war. And I was done playing nice. I didn't respond to the letter right away. I let it sit on my kitchen counter, unopened except for that first read. Every morning, I'd pass it while pouring my coffee. Every night, I'd glance at it as I set my keys down. Like a silent dare. I wasn't scared. Not anymore. But I wasn't rushing into anything either. I wanted to feel the weight of it. To remember that this wasn't some petty drama. My parents were trying to legally extract money from me after everything they'd stolen. They'd taken my credit, my name, my peace of mind, and now they wanted my consent to keep draining me. That wasn't going to happen. I let 2 days pass. 3. On the 4th day, I emailed my lawyer. Technically, he wasn't my lawyer. He was a guy named Marcus I'd met during a workshop on identity theft recovery 2 years earlier, when I was still dealing with the fallout of the loans. He'd spoken plainly, had a dry sense of humor, and stuck around after the session to answer my questions. We kept in touch. I'd emailed him maybe twice since. But now I needed him. I forwarded the suit to him, along with a short message. Looks like my parents are trying to sue me for not being a better ATM. Thoughts? He called me 10 minutes later. This is absurd, he said, laughing into the phone. Filial responsibility statutes are rarely enforced, especially in Indiana. And even when they are, they usually apply to cases where the parent is incapacitated and the child is both financially capable and somehow morally responsible. Well, I said, I am financially capable now. Yeah, Marcus replied. But morally? After they stole your identity, racked up debt in your name, and tanked your credit before you could legally drink? I think we're good. I want to fight it, I said. But not just that. I want to expose them. I want a paper trail. I want it all documented. I don't want them just embarrassed. I want them boxed in. No more chances to play the victim. There was a pause. You're serious. I've never been more serious. Another pause. Then let's talk strategy. And just like that, the setup began. The first thing Marcus did was help me file a countersuit. It wasn't just a defensive move, it was aggressive. We gathered all the documentation, the fraudulent loans, the credit card statements, the repossession report, the police report I'd filed years ago. We pulled my credit history from age 18 onward, annotated every line that didn't belong. We requested recorded customer service calls from banks that still had them on file, ones where my mother's voice could be heard, pretending to be me. Your parents are going to claim they did it for your benefit, Marcus warned. That they were just helping you. That you knew and agreed. We need to prove malicious intent. A pattern. Oh, I said, there's a pattern. And I had proof. The letter. The one they left in my mailbox. The emotional blackmail disguised as entitlement. I'd scanned it the day it arrived, even though it made my skin crawl. I sent it to Marcus. This alone doesn't prove identity theft, he said. But combined with the loans and the police report, it paints a picture. What's next? I asked. Discovery. We send them a formal notice. If they want to pursue this, they'll have to hand over financial records, communication logs, all of it. Good, I said. Let's make them dig their own hole. He laughed. You really are your own man now. I didn't reply to that, but it stayed with me. While Marcus got the legal wheels turning, I started my own parallel plan. Reputation. See, the thing about my parents is that they cared what people thought. Image was everything. Church potlucks, neighborhood barbecues, Haley's baby announcements on Facebook. They curated a version of our family that looked so wholesome you could slap it on a cereal box. I was the black sheep, the one who moved away and stopped calling, who forgot where he came from. I hadn't spoken to most of our extended family in years, not because I didn't want to, but because every conversation somehow got filtered through mom and dad. They controlled the narrative. Time to change that. I started reaching out. Not with rage. Not with accusations. Just facts. I called my Uncle Tom, Dad's older brother, a man I hadn't spoken to since I was 19. We made small talk for a while before I gently steered the conversation. Did you know Mom and Dad took out loans in my name? He paused. What? No. What are you talking about? So I told him. Not all the messy emotional stuff. Just the numbers. The fraud. The debt. I told him about the repossession, the lawsuits, the letter. By the end, he was silent. Why didn't you say anything sooner? He finally asked. I thought I had to protect them, I said. But now, I just want the truth out there. I'm not looking for pity. I just don't want to be the villain in their version anymore. He didn't say much after that. But 3 days later, Haley texted me. Did you talk to Uncle Tom? Mom's freaking out. I didn't respond. I kept going. Aunt Linda, Cousin Rachel, even Pastor Greg from our old church. Each time, I kept it factual, calm. And each time, I could feel the tide shifting. People started seeing the cracks in the image. Whispers started. Texts flew. And my parents? They panicked. The legal response came a week later, a half-hearted request to settle quietly, accompanied by a vague denial of wrongdoing. Marcus and I laughed over it. They're hoping you'll fold, he said. They don't know me anymore. At the same time, I was preparing another layer of the plan, one they wouldn't see coming. Media. Not TMZ, obviously, but local papers. One in particular, the Fort Wayne Sentinel. They had a Real People, Real Stories section, a column that featured identity theft victims and financial abuse survivors. I'd read it before. Quiet, powerful stories. I emailed the editor. Told her I had one of my own. She called me the next day. Are you okay with your name being public? She asked. This could blow back on you. I thought about that. The old me would have hesitated. Would have worried about making waves. But the new me? I want it out there, I said. Every word. We set up an interview. I gave her everything. Documents, letters, emails, quotes. She fact-checked, interviewed Marcus, even asked Haley for comment. Haley declined, but texted me privately that she supported me. I'm not ready to speak out, she said. But I'm not against you. Just be careful. I thanked her and waited. The article dropped on a Monday morning. The headline was simple. He was just 19 when his parents stole his identity. Now he's fighting back. It was fair, balanced, but it didn't pull punches. It detailed the loans, the fraud, the emotional toll. And it named names because I gave permission. That afternoon, I got 50 messages. Some from people I hadn't spoken to in years. Some from strangers. A few were survivors of similar abuse. One woman wrote, I thought I was the only one. My father did the same thing to me. Thank you for sharing. But the one that stood out? A voicemail from my father. No hello. No greeting. Just this. You're destroying this family. For what? A few bucks? Pride? You think the world's going to love you now? They won't. You'll always be ours. I saved the voicemail. Then I sent it to Marcus. Admissible? I asked. Oh, absolutely, he replied. By the end of that week, the tone of the lawsuit shifted. Their lawyer, someone they probably found through a Google ad, filed a motion to dismiss their own suit. But it was too late. Because my countersuit? That was still on. And it was gaining traction. They didn't show up to the hearing. Marcus had warned me that might happen. People like them? They're great at making threats, but not so great at following through when the spotlight's pointed at them. Still, I had to see it for myself. I sat in that quiet courthouse room, arms crossed, heart steady, and watched the judge call out Scott and Denise Harper twice before sighing and turning to Marcus and me. Well, he said, that simplifies things. We won by default judgment. A clean, satisfying slam of the gavel. Everything we'd filed, the documented identity theft, the illegal use of my social security number, the fraudulent loans, the emotional and financial damage, it was all entered into the record. They had 30 days to respond before enforcement would begin. Garnishment, liens, asset seizure. They didn't respond. Not even when they got served at what was left of their house, a rundown place with brown grass, a sun-bleached for sale sign, and 3 boarded windows. I didn't need to be there to picture it. I'd driven past once. Just once. I saw my dad sitting on the porch, hunched, staring at nothing. Mom wasn't there. According to Haley, she'd started staying with a friend after the article dropped. She's embarrassed, Haley told me. Won't even go to church. People ask too many questions. She should be embarrassed. I replied. That's called consequence. I know, Haley said softly. I'm not asking you to forgive her. I'm just letting you know. 3 weeks after the judgment, Marcus and I filed the final papers. Garnishment on their remaining savings account, which held just under $6,000. Not enough to pay back what they owed, but enough to make them feel it. Enough to matter. The bank froze the funds within 48 hours. That's when the calls started again. Blocked numbers. Strange voicemails. Mom crying. Dad angry. One message stood out. Dad's voice, cold and sharp. You're destroying your own blood over money. You think this makes you powerful? You're just a bitter child with a lawyer. I saved it. Forwarded it to Marcus. Then I turned off my voicemail completely. But revenge isn't about rage. Not the real kind. It's not shouting or smashing things or seeing them beg. It's knowing, really knowing, that you've outgrown them. That they can't hurt you anymore. That you've built something they can't reach. Still, that didn't stop them from trying one last time. A month after the funds were frozen, I came home from work to find a letter taped to my apartment door. Sloppy handwriting. Torn notebook paper. You've made your point. We get it. You win. But you need to stop. We're still your parents. Families move on. Haley thinks you've gone too far. Please stop before you make this worse. I stared at that line. Haley thinks you've gone too far. For a long time. Then I picked up the phone and called her. She answered on the first ring. Tyler, I got a letter taped to my door. You said that. What? She paused. No, I didn't say that. Are you serious? I'm looking at it right now. Her voice dropped. I swear on everything, Tyler. I never said that. I haven't even seen them in a week. I believed her, and something inside me snapped clean. Because even now, even in the final moments, they were still trying to triangulate. Still trying to turn the only sibling I had left into a weapon. Still reaching for anything they could twist. So I made one last move. I wrote a letter. Not to them, to everyone else. I posted it on social media. A public update. Not dramatic. Not angry. Just clear. Some of you have asked why I went public. Why I sued my parents. Why I didn't let it go. Here's why. They stole from me. For years. Not just money, but time, peace, opportunity. They used my name to fund their wants and ignored my needs. They never apologized. Never made it right. I tried silence. It didn't work. I tried distance. That didn't work either. So I chose truth. If that makes me a villain in their story, so be it. I'm proud of the man I've become, because I built him without their help. This chapter is closed. Don't ask me to reopen it. I logged out after posting it. Let the ripples hit without watching. 2 days later, Haley sent me a screenshot. The family group chat, which I hadn't been part of for years, was blowing up. A few relatives defended me. Some stayed quiet. One aunt said I should have kept it private. Haley replied, they didn't keep their abuse private. Tyler has every right. That night, I slept with my phone off for the first time in years. No buzzing. No guilt. No waiting for a shoe to drop. And for the first time in my life, I felt something I hadn't felt in over a decade. Peace. Haley and I started talking more after that. Slowly. Cautiously. We didn't pretend the past didn't exist, but we didn't let it own us either. She told me she was thinking about therapy. About what she'd ignored, what she'd accepted as normal. I'm not proud of how I stood by, she said once, during a long walk in the park. But watching you stand up for yourself, it's made me rethink everything. I'm not perfect, I said. I was angry. Still am, sometimes. You earned that anger, she replied. Just don't let it be the only thing that drives you. I didn't. I made space for other things. Laughter, sleep, weekend trips, cooking for myself without counting calories or cost. I dated again, slowly, carefully. Let someone see the version of me I'd fought to become. As for my parents, last I heard, they moved out of the house just before foreclosure finalized. Dad got a part-time job somewhere out of town. Mom stopped posting on Facebook. They went quiet. Not because they found peace, but because they finally ran out of stories to tell. They weren't the victims anymore. They were just names on a court record. And I was the one who walked away clean. Not bitter. Not broken. Just free. And that was the first thing they taught me that I actually wanted to remember.